A surprise bureaucratic earthquake just rattled Washington Marco Rubio is slimming America's diplomatic empire while Donald Trump intensifies a tariff war that could redefine global trade balances. And, Beijing is watching every scalpel cut. On April 22, Rubio unveiled the most sweeping reorganization of the State Department in a generation, proposing to close 132 offices and trim US-based staff by 15%. The announcement landed only days after Trump froze his reciprocal tariffs for every country except China until July 8, prolonging a trade standoff that already threatens growth from Washington to Wuhan. Together, the twin moves raise one question for diplomats, investors, and ordinary citizens alike: is U.S. foreign policy shifting from liberal internationalism toward a lean and mean fortress economy? Or is this merely beltway optics ahead of a bruising election season? Rubio called his agency bloated, bureaucratic, and unable to perform its essential diplomatic mission in this new era of great power competition. The plan scraps the Undersecretary for Civilian Security, Democracy and Human Rights, folding many of its duties into regional bureaus, while shuttering offices for global women's issues, criminal justice, and conflict stabilization. Deputy Secretary Chris Landau reassured employees that foreign embassies and current programs would be spared, implying that the axe will fall mainly on Washington desks. House Foreign Affairs Chair Brian Mast praised the blueprint as making the department leaner and meaner, and ensuring that every dollar and diplomat puts America first. Every post-Cold War administration has tried to refit Foggy Bottom. George H.W. Bush failed to push a broad restructuring through Congress, Bill Clinton shaved around the edges, and Rex Tillerson's 2017 redesign was largely defanged by appropriators. Rubio's proposal is less revolutionary than Tillerson's original cuts but more doctrinal, channeling MAGA priorities by downgrading democracy promotion while amplifying raw power politics. Analysts at the American Foreign Service Association warn that eliminating functional bureaus could gut the United States' ability to coordinate sanctions, human rights reporting, and multilateral negotiations. Conversely, the Heritage Foundation applauds a focus on core bilateral diplomacy over ideological adventurism. Michelle Kellerman of NPR notes that senior career officers privately expect the final staff reduction to be smaller than headline numbers, hinting that Rubio's aim is signaling discipline to Trump rather than uprooting the diplomatic corps. Within hours, #SaveState trended on X, formerly known as Twitter, as former ambassadors decried a war on expertise, while conservative influencers, celebrated the demise of woke diplomacy. Some staffers leaked spreadsheets showing that Africa regional posts would lose policy analysts, even as China's footprint on the continent grows. An irony not lost on foreign policy Reddit threads that, mocked the plan as great power competition on hard mode. The bureaucratic shakeup coincides with Trump's tariff offensive. A 90-day pause spares allies but keeps China under a punitive 145% average levy, creating a cliff edge for negotiations. The IMF cut its 2025 global forecast, warning that the tariff spiral could slice nearly 1 percentage point off world GDP. Beijing's immediate response was defiant. State media hailed Xi Jinping's commitment to multilateralism, vowing retaliation against any nation siding with America. Official data show China's first quarter growth at 5.4%, buoyed by pre-tariff export surges. But UBS now projects only 3.4% for 2025 once levies bite. A Morgan Stanley poll found 44% of urban consumers fear job losses tied to U.S. tariffs, the highest anxiety reading since 2020. Xi's response may hinge on domestic stability. Even as he courts foreign investment, he is purging the People's Liberation Army. Vice Chairman He Weidong's unexplained disappearance marks the highest-ranking PLA ouster since 1967. Military anti-corruption czar Lieutenant General Tang Yong was also removed from the CPPCC last month, underscoring a climate of elite insecurity. To narrow trade gaps without ditching tariffs, Trump is urging partners to, buy American LNG. He dispatched Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent to woo Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan into a $44 billion Alaska megaproject. Yet, Industry experts argue that export terminals already run near capacity and honestly steel tariffs inflate construction costs. The U.S. Energy Information Administration notes that only about 5.3 billion cubic feet per day of new capacity will come online this cycle, hardly enough to erase trade deficits, and European buyers, flush with climate policy uncertainty, hesitate to sign long-term contracts, which really limits the LNG pivot's impact. Rubio's rollback of human rights offices contrasts sharply with EU diplomacy that embeds gender and democracy portfolios even amid fiscal austerity. Meanwhile, Beijing's charm offensive in Southeast Asia recalls Deng Xiaoping's 1980s pragmatism, but the concurrent PLA purge evokes Mao-era paranoia. America's LNG push echoes Saudi Arabia's 1970s oil for security deals, yet today's buyers possess greener alternatives and, well, deeper pockets. As historian Margaret Macmillan reminds us, diplomacy is not merely drifting with the tide but swimming for shore, and right now the currents are perilous. Theodore Roosevelt once said, "A stream cannot rise higher than its source." Rubio seems determined to raise the State Department by cutting from its source. Sun Tzu. In the midst of chaos there is opportunity. Xi's strategists may interpret tariff turmoil exactly that way, doubling down on regional influence. Franklin Roosevelt. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Yet 44% of Chinese consumers fearing layoffs suggests fear already stalks the streets. Rubio's downsizing bid and Trump's tariff brinkmanship form a single narrative thread, a superpower intent on projecting hard power abroad while retrenching institutions at home. Whether this gamble yields strategic clarity or accelerates U.S. isolation depends on three unpredictable variables: congressional resistance to the reorg, Xi's balancing act between stimulus and purges, and the global market's appetite for American gas. The next 24 months could, honestly, redefine the architecture of both diplomacy and trade, just as world leaders eye elections, conflict zones, and climate deadlines. If you value sober, multi-angle analysis of the tectonic shifts shaping our world, smash the like button, share this breakdown with fellow global affairs geeks, and subscribe to Omni for fresh insights every week. Let's navigate the storm together.